Good evening, sci-fi fans. It's Willy time with me, William Willy Todgerson Jr., the science fiction author who has written many books. You may remember seeing the name Willy Todgerson Jr. on the front of many books in the past. Books such as The Man Who is Made of Bad Atoms. Books such as The Mega Cube of Hyperspace 1, which was a very interesting book. I believe Star Trek may have ripped it off when they invented the Borg cube, because it is very similar to my Mega Cube from Hyperspace 1. It was filled with many little men who ran around the cube and brought other people into the cube to become little cubes of their own, which I believe sounds quite similar to the Borg, only they didn't turn people into cubes. I don't know why not, because that was the most interesting part of that novel. Indeed! And I am here to present to you a showcase of things that I own that used to belong to another science fiction author such as myself, the great Christopher Priest. I would like to first show you the Christopher Priest books that I own in realistic paperback and hardback format. First, we see the Spaceman Machine. Space Machine, the Spaceman Machine, the Space Machine. This is a follow-up to Mr. H.G. Wells' book called The Time Machine. It is similar, but it is not a time machine, it is a space machine. And if you look there on the cover, you can see what appears to be a tripod from the War of the Worlds, which was another book by one H.G. Wells. Also, I have just noticed, if you open the book, you will see here it used to belong to Angus McAllister, who was a Scottish science fiction author, much like myself. But his books were not as good as mine, because they were not entitled in a variety of humorous manners. They were just normal books. I have some, but I don't know where they are, because my house is a labyrinthine maze of bookshelves and books, and I've not read any of them. Next, we have Real-Time World by Christopher Priest. This is a book about many short stories, and I have read but one of them. Here, you may even see my bookmark from Mrs. Lofthouse's Emporium, which is in Scarborough. And I have been there once, and I must go back, because there are probably many books I need to buy that I haven't bought yet. Next, Indoctrinari by Christopher Priest. This one features a 12p sticker on the back, a price label from none other than the Woolworths shop, which is now defunct because nobody went there to buy the books anymore, because nobody can read now. This is a book about something which I'm sure could be very interesting if you read it, but I myself have not read it yet. You may realize I don't read many books. That's because I'm too busy writing many science fiction books myself. because I am a science fiction author also. Next, we have the inverted world, which is similar to the real-time world, but is also different. The front cover features what appears to be naked, strange people. Not read it yet. It's probably good. Intriguing. Next, we have this book by Christopher Priest called The Quiet Woman. And this book is signed by none other than Christopher Priest, the man who wrote the book. And this is a book about a woman who is quiet, as the title suggests. Another book by Christopher Priest I own is Fugue for a Darkening Island, which is something about immigration and stuff. Very timely. And it is also signed by the Christopher Priest man himself, which is good. Here, The Affirmation by Christopher Priest, the science fiction author. I don't believe this one is signed. It is not, but it is still a book which exists in my hand. Peter Sinclair is tormented by bereavement and failure. In an attempt to conjure some meaning from his life, he embarks on an autobiography, but he finds himself writing the story of another man, in another imagined world, where insidious attraction draws him even further into the book, I imagine, because he's an author. Here we have A Dream of Wessex, which features at least 2 nipples. This book bloody signed by Christopher Priest also. I can't believe I have so many signed Christopher Priest books, but I do. The next big book is The Glamour by Christopher Priest, the science fiction man. There is a lovely image of him when he was but a young man. Sadly, he is no longer with us, but at least we have the signed book. This one is a first UK edition, which is very good indeed, because it will be worth many pound coins if I ever sell it, which I will not, because it is a signed book by Christopher Priest. Next in my collection of the Christopher Priest books, we have some very interesting things indeed. This book is The Heirs of Earth by Brian Aldiss. Brian W. Aldiss. And this book used to belong to Christopher Priest. He's written his name in the top, so nobody could steal the book from him when he was at the gym and the book was locked away in a locker or left on the floor somewhere random. Very intriguing. Another book is this book, which is in my hand now. It is Split Second by Gary Kilworth. And this book is also interesting because it belonged also to Christopher Priest, who wrote his name in it. And even more interesting is this dedication, or inscription, maybe I should say, of the book to Chris and Lisa, who was his wife at the time, dwellers in the far country. Gary. That Gary being Gary Kilworth. Very, very good thing to have in the collection. Here we have a Bobby Shaw book, Wreath of Stars, which is lovely and yellow. It's one of those Gollancz SF books. And this also is a first edition, and also was a Christopher Priest collected book. Here we see some writing from Bobby Shaw himself to Christopher Priest. To Chris Priest, with sincere thanks for all the help that only a secret master of science fiction can give. Bob Shaw, 13th of July, 1976. When I was but a young man, writing science fiction, short stories, and little limericks and melodies and little boo-boos. Next, it's another Gary book by Gary Kilworth called Abandonati, which has some water damage down the bottom, much like myself. This also was a Christopher Priest book, and it was in his house. And it is again written on the front of the book by the man himself, Mr. Gary Kilworth. To Chris and Lee, this is a happy book. Well, ellipsis, I suspect that was a joke, and the book is not happy at all, because it is called Abandonati, which is probably about abandoning people called Natty. All the rich people had disappeared. Guppy woke up one morning, huddled in rags on a cold street, and they had all gone. So had their cars, their possessions, and their money. All that was left was the broken city with its crumbling buildings, stagnant canals, and pitted roads, and the broken people, the unwanted, useless ones, cast away and forgotten, the abandonati. I guess it is not about abandoning a person called Natty at all. And this is another somewhat interesting book in my collection. It is Flatland by Asquare. Of course, this is a famous book, but this one also to Chris. To Chris. With best wishes, Bob Shaw, 17th of August, 1978. This was a gift from Bob Shaw to Christopher Priest, and it's ended up in my hands, which I'm sure everyone will be very happy about, because I get to show them on the internet YouTube website showcase. Here we have a selection of paperback books which are in shiny plastic envelopes. These books are sealed away mysteriously, or not so mysteriously, because it was me who sealed them away. Here we have Aldous Budrus, The Furious Future by Aldous Budrus. Now, if I carefully open this little bag, we can see the treasures within. What could it be? It belonged to Christopher Bloody Priest. Lovely stuff. Just like everything else. Here, a Richard Cowper book. Profundus. also enveloped. Ah! We got it. What could this be? It belonged to Christopher Priest. For Chris Priest, friend and fellow denizen of Grub Street, with every good wish, Richard Cowper. November 1980. It's another one. Here we go. Non-Stop by Brian Aldiss. Now this book is special indeed. This, I believe, is the first UK paperback from 1958, when I was born. Now, this book also belonged to Christopher Priest. Now, I must be very careful with this book, for it is very delicate. You can see a year there, 27th of February, 1962, when Christopher Priest himself was a small 18-year-old boy. And he read this book, and he thought, I should be a sci-fi author myself. And then he did it. He bloody did it. He wrote many a book of science fiction. Thank you, science fiction fans. I hope you have enjoyed my showcase of books such as this, which was one of the very good books, Non-Stop by Brian Aldiss. Here is a gripping story, complete with such traditional ingredients as a lost tribe, sinister traces of a mighty former civilization, and a hero, Roy Complain, who, haunted by peril, comes eventually to find himself. He must have found a mirror or something such as that. If he found himself, I think you will find that is the most obvious turn of events that would happen in a science fiction book. Anyway, I will bid you adieu as I leave to go into space. Not literally, but figuratively, by reading a book or writing a book set in space, which is a science fictional concept and doesn't exist. The Earth is flat. Look at that! It's a painting of a little strange girl, which was painted by none other than the Wizard Jim from News from the Gelding. He is still selling his little paintings, which are very good indeed, on the internet. Why don't you go and buy one of Jim's paintings? He would like it very much indeed if you bought his paintings on eBay. Wizard Jim paid me 5 tuppence to make that disgusting filth